When I first met Ethan, it was under circumstances that could hardly be called romantic. He was sitting alone at the corner table of the cafe I worked at, his head bent over a notebook, his coffee untouched. I had seen him there before, always quiet, always writing, and always looking like he carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken thoughts. That day, the rain was falling in sheets outside, and the warm glow of the cafe lights made the place feel like a safe harbor. I approached his table with a smile, though I knew he wouldn't look up right away. "You've been staring at that page for 20 minutes, I said lightly, setting a fresh cup of coffee in front of him. "Writer's block." He glanced up, startled, as if I had pulled him out of another world. His eyes were a soft gray, the kind that seemed to see more than they let on. "Something like that," he said, his voice quiet but steady. I don't know why I lingered. Maybe it was the loneliness in his expression, or maybe it was something else, something I couldn't name yet. "I'm Emma," I said, offering my hand. He hesitated before shaking it. "Ethan." From that day, I started noticing things about him. He came in every Thursday afternoon, ordered the same black coffee, and sat at the same table by the window. Sometimes he wrote. Sometimes he just stared out at the rain or the busy street beyond the glass. Weeks passed before I gathered the courage to ask him about his writing. He told me he was working on a novel but struggling to finish it. "It's hard to write about love when you don't believe in it anymore," he said with a wry smile. That confession stayed with me. I wanted to help him, not just with his book, but with whatever shadows seemed to follow him. I didn't know what had taken away his faith in love, but something in me wanted to see him believe again. One evening, as the cafe was closing and most of the customers had left, I found him still sitting at his table. The rain had started again, soft at first, then heavier. I walked over with 2 cups of coffee, one for him, one for me. "You don't have to stay," he said, glancing up. "I want to," I replied. We talked that night, really talked. He told me about the woman he once loved, the one who had left without explanation, and how it had broken something inside him. I listened without interrupting, letting him spill the words he had been holding back. When he finally looked at me, there was vulnerability in his eyes. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "Because sometimes people just need someone to listen," I said softly. From that night on, our conversations became the highlight of my week. We talk about books, about life, about dreams we were afraid to admit out loud. Slowly, I saw the shadows lift from his gaze. Slowly, I saw him smile more often. One Thursday, he came in earlier than usual and handed me a folded piece of paper. "Read it when you're alone," he said. Later, in the quiet of my apartment, I unfolded it. It was a page from his novel, about a woman who brought light into a man's life without even knowing it. The words were beautiful, but it was the last line that made my heart race. She thought she was helping him, but she didn't realize he was falling for her. I didn't know what to say the next time I saw him, so I said nothing at all. But something had shifted between us. Our conversations were warmer, our smiles lingered longer, and when our hands brushed as I set down his coffee, neither of us pulled away. One evening, he asked if I wanted to see the city lights from the old bridge by the river. I said yes, without hesitation. The night air was crisp, and the city glowed in the distance like a sea of stars. "I used to come here when I needed to think," he said. "It feels different now, better." We stood in silence for a while, the only sound the gentle rush of the river below. Then he turned to me, his expression uncertain. "Emma, you've done more for me than you know. You made me believe again." My heart was pounding. "Ethan," I began, but my voice caught. "I wanted to tell you," he continued, that Before he could finish, a gust of wind swept across the bridge, and without thinking, I reached for his hand. It was warm, steady, and in that moment, I realized something I hadn't admitted to myself before. I had wanted to help him. I had wanted to bring him back to life. But somewhere along the way, my heart had made its own plans. We didn't kiss that night. We didn't need to. The way his fingers tightened around mine said everything. From then on, things changed. He would wait for me outside the cafe after my shift, and we'd walk through the city together, talking about everything and nothing. I learned the sound of his laughter, the way his eyes lit up when he talked about something he loved. One afternoon, months later, he handed me a bound manuscript. "It's finished," he said. I opened it, and on the dedication page were the words, "For Emma, who reminded me that love is worth writing about." Tears blurred my vision. "Ethan, that's not all," he said, taking my hands. "I don't just believe in love again. I'm in it. With you." The world seemed to hold its breath. I smiled through the tears, my voice barely above a whisper. I think my heart had the same plan. We stood there, in the quiet corner of the cafe where it had all begun, knowing that what had started as an act of kindness had turned into something neither of us had expected, but both of us had been waiting for. And in that moment, I realized that sometimes, when you set out to heal someone else, you find the missing pieces of your own heart.